So now we're going to install this invisible zipper inside of a garment that is lined. This white fabric here is my lining, and this pink fabric is my fashion fabric. And I've got my zipper pinned just like you would pin it to install an invisible zipper regularly. But I just have it pinned on both sides, making sure that my zipper teeth are as close to being on the seam as possible. So I've got my zipper foot installed on my sewing machine, and I always start on the right side of my zipper tape. And folding out your fabric, the only thing you're going to be working with is this side of your zipper tape and your seam allowance, nothing more. So flip all of that fabric out of the way. So I'm going to place my seam allowance under my zipper foot, checking to see where everything is it where I want it to be, and I'm going to reposition it a little more. And now I'm going to reposition my needle because it's not in the right position. So I'm going to adjust my width until I get it to where I want. And I'm going to test it just as I would if I was installing it regularly. So right now I don't care to get my needle position directly where I want it to be. Right now I'm just going to baste the zipper in place. So I just want to baste somewhere in the middle of that zipper tape. It doesn't have to be exact. We're just holding it in place. So I am adjusting my stitch length to 5.0, and I'm simply going to sew a basting stitch. So I'm down to about where I want my zipper to stop, and I'm simply just going to raise my needle and pull everything out. And if anything that I'm doing thus far is unfamiliar to you, then I would encourage you to go and watch my installing a flawless invisible zipper video, because I go into more detail. This one I'm just kind of glossing over the fundamentals for the most part, since I've covered it in another lesson. So we're going to focus on working with the lining this time. So we're just getting the zipper in place like we normally would, and we're going to go from there. So I flipped my fabric. It was on this side, and now I'm flipping it on this side, so that I'm working with my left side zipper tape. So now I've got my zipper all basted in place, and I'm going to go back and actually sew it down now. So I switched my zipper foot back over because I'm going to work with my right side. Okay, so I've got my presser foot where I want it. And now I am going to roll over. See, I'm using my finger to roll over the zipper tape. And when I roll over the zipper tape, that is where I want my needle to fall. And I also want the edge of my presser foot right here to fall in that crease as well. But you can only reveal that crease by rolling back your zipper teeth. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to work with getting my needle where I want it to, so I'm going to adjust it so I got it to sink down where I want it. And now I'm going to back stitch, and I'm going to stitch down my zipper for real this time. So again, I am pulling back my zipper teeth with my finger, and I'm going to do my best to hold it like this. And I'm going to sew, aiming my needle in that crease. And because you basted down your zipper tape, you don't have to hold this over here. I just kind of do this out of habit because I don't always baste my zippers. But you really can just focus on holding your fabric and making sure that it's controlled. But your most important task is with this finger by holding your zipper teeth back. And I go slowly and carefully when I'm doing this because I'll just sew a few stitches, then reposition my finger, and then I'll sew a few stitches again and reposition. So first thing I'm going to do, this is the top of my zipper. I'm going to cut off these two tabs here. So now I've got my dress here. This is the lining fabric again, and this is the waistline seam. This is the top of my dress. We're going to attach the lining to the zipper. So right now you're looking at the inside of your garment as if it has been sewn down. You're looking at the right side of your lining, and it should be wrong side to wrong side of your fabric. And again, you're looking at the outside of your lining. I want you to fold out your lining up top. Bring your zipper, one side of your zipper, and then your lining will fall right over it, like that. You should be seeing the stitching at the top of your lining. If you don't see stitching, then you're not looking at the wrong side of your lining. So you're going to flip your lining out until you get to the wrong side and lay it over your zipper. We're going to do that one more time because I know it gets confusing. So here we're looking at the inside of your garment. This is the right side of your lining. You're going to flip it out to look at the wrong side and let it fall over the zipper like that. And then you're going to pin it down to the zipper tape. As you get towards the bottom, I'm going to fold under my seam allowance towards me, because remember, we're looking at the wrong side of the lining. And then I'm going to pin it down. A good way to tell if you pinned it on correctly is to simply just fold your lining back out after you've pinned it and see what it looks like here. So we've got a nice clean folded edge there, and that's what it's going to look like when you sew it down. So let's go to the sewing machine and sew this in place. So this time I'm starting on the left side because that's just the side that I happen to pin. You can work on whichever side that you would like first. So the big difference here is that you're not going to be able to see your zipper tape. You're just going to have to feel it with your finger. If you see your zipper tape, then you've done something wrong. So go back and unpin everything and try it again. So smooth out your fabric, everything underneath. You're only working with one side of your seam allowance. And get a feel of where that zipper tape is. I can feel where mine is. I can see a little bit of an indentation there. And so I'm just going to drop my presser foot down just to hold on to everything while I adjust. And remember, this is the inside of your garment. If it's a little less than stellar because you can't see your zipper tape, that's okay. Try to get it as close as you possibly can. Of course, you want it to look just as nice on the inside as on the outside, but remember, this does take practice. So I can feel here where my zipper tape is. So I have to be careful when I'm placing my needle down. And so see, I lowered my needle and I can feel the resistance. Here it's hitting my zipper teeth, so I need to move it over to the left just a touch. Okay, there we go. So I definitely, absolutely recommend that you use your hand wheel and slowly test your needle position when you're sewing down your lining, because you don't want to sink your needle full speed into your zipper teeth. For now, I'm simply going to sew down my lining, and I'm keeping my finger here on my zipper teeth to just kind of make sure that I'm going about this the right way. And if you feel like you're too far away, then lift your needle up and reposition your needle. Okay, so you're getting close to where you folded your hem. So unpin it, make sure that it is folded flat, and sew. So you've sewn down your lining here, a nice clean seam, and now you have a sharp corner here where your layers meet. Take your scissors and you're going to cut off a small corner like that. This will help to make sure that when you fold out your lining, that it'll give you a nice clean edge. So let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to roll my lining. So look at that. We've got a nice clean lined garment. Well, one side of it is lined and it's attached to our zipper, and it looks very, very, very nice. So now we're going to work on the other side. So here's our garment liner, right side. This is the wrong side of our fashion fabric. This is the right side of our lining fabric. We're going to flip it out and fold it over and lay it across our zipper. See, our zipper is here and our lining is here. Pin it down just like we did the other side. And when you get to the bottom here, remember to fold up your seam allowance. And remember, because you're looking at the wrong side of your lining, you're going to fold up with the raw edges of the fabric facing you. Definitely, if you're going through and you're pinning and you don't like the way it's distributed, then unpin and position it, because it's really annoying to try to use a seam ripper to unpick some fabric around a zipper. Like, it's just too much stitching going on, and it's just not something that you want to be bothered with. So try to get it right the first time. I'm not happy about that up there, so I'm going to unpin and repin. Okay, now it's looking like what I want it to look like. So I'm switching my presser foot to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing, positioning everything under my presser foot. I'm getting an idea of where my zipper teeth are. They are right here. Tested my needle position. Okay, I think I'm happy there. I'm gonna back stitch. I'm gonna sew carefully, keeping my finger about where my zipper teeth are. I'm getting towards my hem of the lining, and I'm just making sure it's positioned the way I want it to be. Finishing that out, back stitching, and pulling everything out. And so I've got it sewn down how I want, and I'm gonna take my scissors, clip this corner up here, clip it at an angle. And so now I'm flipping my lining, and there you go. Your liner is attached. Now remember, your seam here is still basted together. So let's go back and unpick that. And again, if you aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, go back and watch the Installing a Flawless Invisible Zipper video. This is just removing the basting stitches that held my fashion fabric together. So now I'm going to finish off my zipper. I stopped sewing my zipper about here, but I still have this link left on my zipper. So I'm going to place my needle down here. I'm going to back stitch as close as I can. I'm placing my needle as close as I can without going into my zipper tape. So I've got my regular stitching starting here. So I just need to connect this space right here. So I'm just going to start sewing regular lengths of stitches, and I'm curving my fabric to meet up with the stitching line that I created when I sewed my fabric together. And flipping your garment to the right side, just double check and make sure that your seams all line up appropriately straight across. And if they don't, I would just go through and unpick it and redo it, because that's gonna look homemade if those seams don't match. So just go through and just do a QA check on your garment and make sure that it's lined up properly. So all that is left to do is for you to just go through the bottom of your lining and attach it to your waistband seam on the inside. And you can do that by just taking a needle and doing a slip stitch all the way around. That'll give you a nice clean finish on the inside of your dress or your garment or whatever you're making, and you will be done, and you've just installed your zipper with a lining.